Hello? Hello? Is anybody there? Did we figure this out? Are we live yet? Take the cobwebs out of here. Hello? How are we looking? Is anybody on the other side? Hello? How are we looking, everybody? What's going on? We're live. Hello. People are saying hi. Hi, everybody. Hello. You might want to turn your volume down. Good. Today's September 15th, 2025. Where the hell is the time gone? Dude, it feels like we haven't been live in a year. I mean, aside from the election. Where is the time gone? September 15th, 2025. Not 24, not 23, 2025. Soon to be 2026. What the heck is going on? We are back, everybody. The mic did it for you. My mic lowered the volume. I know. I had a guy help me. My friend helped me. My buddy helped me. He's like, bro, I'm going to do everyone justice. And I'm going to make sure that you can't scream into people's ears. And I was like, you want to bet? And he said, yeah, bet. So he did something. I don't know what he did, but he did something. So we can't scream anymore. So put some W's in the chat, I guess, for that one. Oh, good morning. Good morning, Canada. There you go. I gotta find workarounds. Oh my goodness. Welcome back, everybody. Oh, anyone got a pit in their stomach? Anyone nervous? Anyone anxious? I don't normally feel this way. I don't know if it's because I'm live and I haven't gone live in quite some time. Maybe it's just like live stream jitters. But like I like going live, and it's never really bothered me. The election night bothered me. Going live for the election, I knew it was going to be such an emotional roller coaster. But the stakes aren't that high. They're not even high right now. I mean, Pierre's back, so there's that. That's going to be entertaining, right? Because question period without Pierre feels like nothing, right? So we're back to a little bit of normalcy, and instead of the end of Justin Trudeau, Trudeau cries, Trudeau destroys. It's Carney cries, Carney walks out, Carney destroyed, Carney throws a tantrum. So now we're faced with Mark Carney. And right out the gate, of course, he doesn't carry the same political baggage as Justin Trudeau. How could you? I mean, Trudeau literally dressed up as like blackface. He mandated for an entire country to have their lives ruined for several years. You know what I'm talking about? He stomped on protesters. He has been indoctrinated into politics. He like smiled when his brother died and like weird stuff. Like there's a lot of weird stuff about Justin Trudeau. So he was like a super hated guy. And Mark Carney came in and was like, I'll be honest, on the main channel, I tried giving him a chance. I tried. I'm not a liberal. I'm just like a person that wants the best for the country, for my people, for my family. And I thought that maybe Mark Carney could like do something good. And it turns out that he can't. He's just as bad as Trudeau, it kind of seems. I mean, the guy just announced the other day, $13 billion invested into this new housing program, which you would think would be like, whoa, that's a lot of money. That must be like 100,000 homes or something. Like that's a lot of houses that can be built. No, but it's not. It's 4,000 houses, which brings the cost of building each home to $3.25 million. And when I see stuff like that, it's like, oh, this guy's corrupt. And then you find out that Mark Carney's got, you know, this company called Brookfield, and they do modular and small housing. You're like, oh, this makes sense. So we've been in a lull right now where we haven't had the guy, right? I'm not the guy. Pierre Poilievre is the guy. We haven't had the guy in the house doing what the guy needs to be doing, which is, Mr. Speaker, this guy sucks. And we'll go, woohoo! woo, right? Like that's entertaining, even though it's like kind of scripted sometimes, even though we got like mixed feelings about it sometimes. We kind of need it because Canada's a weird place right now, and morale is a little low. I'll be honest, right? Within the political divide of Canada, we're back to a kind of a two-party system. The NDP, they're gone without Jagmeet Singh. Like, who's even in the NDP? Can you even name one MP in the NDP? Like, no, not really. Like, you kind of know their faces, but you don't really know who they are. So when we look at the political spectrum in Canada, we're faced with a divide, like just down the middle. We got the left and we've got the right. And because we've been in this lull for quite some time, the left has been, bickering amongst themselves and the right's been bickering amongst themselves. And the bickering stops now because we're back at it again. We're back to doing what needs to happen in Canada, which is question period. It's part of our democratic process, part of the monarchy. It's part of the weird British kings and queens thingy-mabobber, but it's something that we have a luxury of. Something that other countries like the United States don't get to do, which is the prime minister is obligated to show up and debate members of parliament. And Pierre Poilievre just happens to be the best one. So here we are. We're back at it again with this entertainment, with this educational process, with this fun thing that happens in Canada, which there aren't too many fun things that happen. So for all of us political junkies, right, that like to watch the news and like to see the debates, whether you're rooting, I don't think there's too many people, if any at all, that are in here that are rooting for Carney or NDP or whatever, but it's just a space where we can openly see debates and we can see discourse take place in real time. And when it came to Justin Trudeau, that's where you saw him really fail. Like, Pierre Poilievre is the reason that Justin Trudeau resigned. If Pierre Poilievre wasn't the leader of the opposition, if it was anybody else, pick a name out of a hat, who was the leader of the opposition, Justin Trudeau may have still been prime minister and gone into an election or just extended things, right? So Pierre Poilievre's role in parliament isn't necessarily right now. It's unfortunately not to pass things, right? It's a little hard for him to pass things. It's a little hard for him to block certain things. But what he's really good at is showcasing to Canadians how corrupt, how incompetent, how dumb our politicians can truly be. And we saw that in full display with Justin Trudeau versus Pierre Poilievre. And now, as of today, as of the next like 30, 40 minutes from now, we get to see that again with Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, there is a tremendous amount of stuff to look forward to with today. I'm very excited. I hope you're very excited. I didn't have a chance to see the comments. If anyone's got that weird like pit in their stomach and they're nervous, I'm doing my best to navigate through this, and hopefully the words that I've just said helps that nerve calm down, because it's going to be okay. There's some time before the next election, and in the meantime, we get to have some fun. We get to get together in community like this. We get to drink coffee, scream, which apparently you guys can't even hear me scream anymore. I'm going to have to fix that. I'm going to have to find another guy to fix what this guy did. I'm just kidding. It's for the best. So here we are. All I ask for your attendance today is to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And there's a little bell notification when you subscribe. And if you can just click and tap that, that allows a higher chance, a higher probability of notifications for these live streams to be sent out to you so that you don't miss it. 'Cause maybe you got work going on, maybe you got some stuff going on, maybe you're out doing groceries, maybe you're just puttering around the house and you didn't really know it was question period time. Maybe you're watching other stuff on YouTube. Notifications, just boop, it's going to pop up and be like, hey, it's debate time. And so here we are. We have a little bit of time to kill. So we're going to get, we're going to get comfortable. We're going to take a look at what's going on in the news today. We're going to get a little bit hyped. We're going to get a little bit motivated. For those that are new here, you're going to hear me say some weird stuff, like put some L's in the chat or put some W's down in the chat. Now, I'm going to explain right now. W's is reserved for winning. When someone says something that's really good, that's a W. That's like, oh yeah, awesome. That feeling in social media terms, oh yeah, sweet. That means W, right? And then when someone says something really stupid, which is usually the liberals, right? You put an L in the chat just to kind of stick together, have some fun. You don't have to participate, but it is really cool. For example, if I encourage everyone right now in the chat to throw some W's down in the chat, chances are you're going to see a lot of W's going. So it's a little bit of fun. That's just a way that us as viewers get to stay a little bit more entertained and engaged in the debates. But in the meantime, like I said, we're going to take a look at what's going on in the news, okay? Starting off with the fact that a Ontario Liberal, the leader of the Liberal Party, no, not Doug Ford, even though he should be technically the leader of the Liberal Party, the leader of the actual Liberal Party in Ontario is apparently going to leave. Bonnie Crombie? Is that her name? Let's have a look.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of questions here. Certainly Bonnie Crombie, I think we'll see a lot less of her over the next year or so, or until a successor is chosen. But another period upheaval here for the Liberals. This will be their third leadership contest since 2018, when they lost control of government. What that race looks like, we still don't know. But we are hearing from MPPs, Liberal MPPs, in the last half hour. They're trying to push back on this story that's emerged that there was a caucus revolt when Bonnie Crombie met with them yesterday to discuss the possibility of staying on or leaving as leader. In the last 30 minutes, the caucus has released a statement thanking Crombie for pouring her heart and soul into what it means to be a Liberal. They say that Crombie did ask for their input, but stress there was no revolt. Crombie actually decided to leave some hours after saying she would stay on. She only picked up 57% of party support in something of a leadership review that was scheduled after the election that was held over the weekend. There's no answer right now from the party about when exactly a leadership contest will be held. I spoke to one young Liberal who said it was clear, based on the results of the recent election, that it was time for a new leader.
It's great that we got official party status back, but if we really want to make the inroads with Ontarians and actually have a chance of forming government in the next election, I think it's best to have a new leader that's able to resonate with Ontarians more.
What the party really, really needs is someone who can light the lamp, someone who has the political talent to break through, to get noticed, to take the fight to Doug Ford.
Now, there are some names being discussed in these early few hours of just the race not even being called yet. And top of that list is Nate Erskine-Smith. He was the runner-up in the last Ontario Liberal leadership vote. He is now still a current MP for the Liberals. He was coy when asked on Saturday what his future plans are. Karina Gould's name also came up, also a Liberal MP, and she ran for leadership of the Federal Party earlier this year, coming in third. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan.
Holy smokes. They're dropping like flies out of the race. They don't want it. They don't want it. They can't do it. Well, that's going to be interesting. Huh? That's going to be interesting. I wonder what other Liberal leaders across Canada are going to be throwing in the towel and moving on, huh? Let's have a look now at our next piece. You got CTV saying that there's going to be an interesting dynamic of personalities, which is true because there's a lot of new faces and there's a lot of new momentum. And Pierre's back. It's going to be pretty fun.
Let's go to Calgary. Sabrina Grover is standing by. Sabrina is a Liberal strategist. She once ran for the Liberals in the riding of Calgary Centre. Good to see you, Sabrina. Thanks for this.
Thanks, Todd.
Yeah, what do you think is going to happen today as Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre go toe-to-toe today in the House of Commons in question period? What are you expecting?
So I think it'll really be an interesting dynamic of personalities because we haven't really seen the two of them go head to head yet, right? We had them on the campaign trail, but that's not really the same as being in the House. I do think that over the last several months, we've seen Mark Carney really establish himself as the adult in the room, not only from the way that he presents himself, whether that's engaging with stakeholders or engaging with other, other folks like premiers around the table, but also from the policy perspective that he's bringing. And he's brought a really serious tone to Parliament. or to the government, in general. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the House, whether or not the Conservatives are going to shift tactics. I think it's quite different engaging with Mark Carney than it was engaging with Mr. Trudeau, and it'll be interesting to see how that actually plays out with Pierre's first line of questioning.
Let me push back just a bit whether you think, Sabrina, that Mark Carney might be vulnerable on the Trump file. I mean, it has been about 5 months now since he's been elected prime minister, and he did talk about being able to deal with the Trump threat and the trade war against us, and we're still very much in limbo. That's something the Conservatives have been hammering hard on recently.
I don't think that there's a huge vulnerability there, because I do think that he's got a very sound answer to it. So I think on the one hand, he's talked about how we still have the lowest tariffs of any of the partners that the United States has dealt with. Second, you've seen him from the G7 onwards really engage strongly with European partners. So I think he's got some backing to say, I've actually gone out and tried to make some additional deals or make inroads on those deals that would lead us to better success. And then I think thirdly, the Conservatives don't have a plan to put forward on that. So there's only so much you can do when you're ribbing somebody if you can't put forward a policy of your own. And so I think that that's where that is going to get muddled up in terms of finding success for the Conservative side.
Hey, last question on the budget that's coming, and of course we're a while from that, but Carney has already suggested, Sabrina, that it is going to be bigger, the deficit will be bigger than we've seen before, and there will be cuts to certain departments. We know certain areas of government have already been told they're going to have to tighten their belt, plus some key investments as well. Again, is he vulnerable on that in terms of the fiscal spending aspect?
So what I'm really going to watch for is how he empowers ministers to talk about those aspects, right? So we've seen from the last 5 months since the election that it really has been about Mark Carney and about Mark Carney putting out a message. I think now is the time where he's going to have to use his ministers to go out and be able to support that message, and we haven't seen that yet. So how does, Mr. Champagne message these things? How does Patty Hajdu message these things when it comes to labor, when it comes to potential public service cuts? But given that we might face, new contract negotiations with the public service, that's where I think it's going to be really important. I don't think his messaging has changed when it comes to what we saw in the election and what he's going to put out in the budget. It's more about how he's going to use some of his key players to bring that message forward to Canadians.
Sabrina Grover joining us.
Oh, he's going to hammer it. Oh, my goodness, man. I think the whole country is patiently waiting to see what Pierre Poilievre does. Like, this is going to be freaking phenomenal. That's CTV's take. Let's take a look now at CBC, folks, because I think the media is starting to realize that shit's about to get real and that Pierre is back, and they tried to get him fired and they didn't want him to be there, but he's back now, and it's really going against the media's narrative. And you can tell by the way they're talking.
Prime Minister Mark Carney, who will introduce his first budget in October. Carney has already warned of austerity measures to come, saying last week, quote, "These are tough times, and there is still no deal on tariffs with the White House." Now, opposition leader Pierre Poilievre will be back in the chamber after securing a return to the Commons in an Alberta by-election last month, and he will face off with Carney for the first time later today during question period this afternoon. So for our coverage, let's head over to our Parliamentary reporter, Janice McGregor. She's going to set everything up for us. So Janice, tell us a little bit more about what you're watching for on this day one of the fall sitting.
Indeed. And look, Mark Carney has been really clear about the need for his government to be moving at speed, to be getting a lot of urgent work done at a time when there is an awful lot that's concerning both in the economy and in terms of the geopolitics around the world. But it is very difficult to move quickly from a legislative point of view when you do not have a majority in the House of Commons. And that's the situation they find themselves in, a bit short of being able to completely run the table, being in a situation where they do need partners if they are going to get any bills passed. And we did not see an awful lot passed for the brief spring sitting, the 4 weeks or so, and such that sort of they have a lot of sort of things they have to pick up where they left off, including the first thing that the House is going to resume debate on this hour, C3, the bill to restore citizenship to the so-called lost Canadians. This is something core court has ordered the government to do, changed these rules, found them to be unconstitutional, and given them a deadline of November to get this done. It is Steve McKinnon who is the House Leader who is in charge of getting Mark Carney's.
They're now saying that the budget won't come until November. Did you know this? That's what Vashi's saying. This is crazy, man.
Legislative agenda through. He was speaking to reporters earlier this morning talking about what he hopes can be a different tone, a more kind of productive working atmosphere in the House of Commons this fall than perhaps they had seen in the previous Parliament. Reaching out, he said, to Conservative voters and through them Conservative MPs, asking them to, in his words, pitch in dealing with some national priorities. Take a listen.
You know, a wise man once said, you don't negotiate on principles, but you can negotiate on details. And we're wide open to talk with the opposition about how we can make a piece of legislation happen. So I would say to Mr. Poilievre and to those that are around him, listen to those Conservative voters. Listen to premiers like Danielle Smith, like Doug Ford, like Tim Houston, who are pitching in, and I think reaping the electoral rewards for pitching in and helping build this country. That is very much the spirit of the times. The spirit of the times, I think, is no longer around three-word slogans and facile solutions.
One of the things he was asked about is the fate of C2, the border security bill, which it must be said also has a number of immigration measures in it. It is a government priority, but there were a number of critiques of it from different corners. Civil rights organizations unsure whether this bill could set a dangerous precedent. Also people concerned about Canada's digital sovereignty and believing that not enough was in that bill to protect Canadians' digital rights from being threatened by American tech giants. So would they need to amend perhaps C2 going forward? McKinnon suggested that the place to do that would be at committee. He needs the party's help to get it to committee to consider if there are options perhaps to improve the bill to address these concerns. So the exact opposite of a my way or highway approach. He does seem open to working with opposition MPs to make things better. An example of perhaps an olive branch in return, he suggested that there will be an opposition day, a chance for the Conservatives to set the agenda of the House, debate a motion of their choosing, have a vote on it, amplify some of their own issues and some of their own voices on something that's important to them. Right out the gate, starting sort of this week, we will see the first opportunity for the Conservatives to put forward some alternatives of their own. So something to kind of deal with their need to stay in the news and stay relevant. No news, though, out of Stephen McKinnon about what will be probably the highlight of the fall sitting, that is the federal budget, which we are expecting in a few weeks, next month. Of course, this is something Mark Carney's government did not get done before summer recess, punted to fall.
So Vashi this morning said that she's with insider sources hearing rumors that we won't get a budget until November. Like, that's how crazy and corrupt the Liberals are right now. This is wild.
But this is usually an opportunity to show the government's work in terms of how much things are going to cost, to put everything together under one fiscal framework, and yes, to reveal how high the federal deficit might be, given all the priorities they've been talking about. The new housing agency they unveiled yesterday, the major projects office, those key priorities for the economy that they were talking about last week, and of course the defense industrial strategy, which could take billions to execute. Lost in all this, perhaps, and this came up at the major projects announcement, more of a focus on the climate. Carney told us last week, the Prime Minister did, that there would be a climate competitiveness strategy unveiled by his government going forward. Elizabeth May, the leader of the Green Party, didn't seem to be buying it, that the Liberals were really taking climate issues seriously anymore. She said rage farming had caused them to scratch scrap the consumer carbon tax, and she was telling reporters today that she simply believes her party is becoming a lone voice in terms of standing up for climate as a priority.
I'm not wedded to a carbon price as a way to reduce emissions, but if you're not going to have the one thing that was working, what do you put in place instead? And if you put a pause on the EV mandate and you talk about fossil fuel infrastructure being potentially acceptable, then you've lost the plot.
She may feel that, but we also know that there are a group of Liberal MPs for whom climate issues remain very important. They have formed a new caucus inside the Liberal Party to continue to advocate for these issues, argue against perhaps the abandonment of some things that the Trudeau government was doing previously. So this is definitely a policy area to watch.
And of course,
so we've got some breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, speaking of what Trudeau used to do, the government of Canada has been pushing, weirdly, voting machines, electronic voting. And that's changing right now. Moving forward, Elections Canada has officially confirmed that there will be no more electronic voting machines in Canada. You ready for the clip? Here we go.
Voting, is that correct?
Not electronic voting, electronic lists. So we continue to use a paper ballot, and we have no plans to walk away from the paper ballot. But when when an elector shows up to vote, we have to manage, strike the names, and administer the procedures. When we use electronic lists, we can use a scanner and a barcode to scan the voter information card, process that a lot more efficiently, and allow electors to vote at the first available table or even to vote outside of their assigned polling station. So there's a range of flexibility and efficiencies that come with electronic lists of electors, but we will not go to electronic voting.
Okay. Now, I was wondering if you could, in terms of using electronic...
There you go. So what do you guys think of that one? Huh? Elections Canada confirms no electronic voting machines. Canada will use paper ballots only in federal elections. After the disaster in BC, this is massive. Maintaining paper ballots is a great step to keep election integrity moving forward. That's kind of interesting, eh? Holy smokes, look at that. Maybe there is some hope for Canada. Maybe.
all eyes will also be on how Poilievre and Carney have their face-off for the first time in question period. That's in a few hours. So, Janice, could there be some common ground found between the Liberals and Conservatives on some policies?
Well, it depends, if you're asking about something that happens in front of the cameras, like question period, I would expect a very vigorous debate. These two have not, as you say, had a chance to really have a good back and forth since the election debates last spring. So I would anticipate some real contrasting positions by the two of them. But when you get down to the nitty-gritty of sort of different aspects legislatively, is there room to sort of meet in the middle and work out some compromises? Poilievre, speaking to his caucus yesterday, seemed to suggest there would be.
We're going to work to turn things around. We'll work with anybody from any party in order to make this session a success for the Canadian people. That's why we were so cooperative in helping the things pass that we agreed with in the spring session, and it's why we'll work even harder in the fall session. We will oppose things we're against, support things we're for, but we will also propose solutions to the problems Liberals have created.
And his deputy leader, Melissa Lantsman, also on her way in this morning was talking about sort of opposing when it makes sense, supporting things when it makes sense, and in her words, exposing what the Liberals aren't telling everybody as they go along. Look, this is very much a two-party show in this House of Commons. They have such an overwhelming number of the seats split between the two of them. There are still some other parties. Of course, the Bloc Québécois has a 22-member caucus. We are going to hear from Bloc leader Yves-François Blanchet very shortly about his party's priorities and maybe some things they might be negotiating in return for some critical votes here and there, but the NDP reduced to a group that is too small to have official party status. This will be a different dynamic in the House of Commons than we saw, for example, at this time last year.
So there are pros and cons to a two-party system, right? The pros, obviously, being the fact that Mark Carney and Liberals can't actually push anything forward on their own. So they need the support from other parties, and it's possible for Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives to basically convince other parties that that's not the right thing to do. The bad thing is that potentially nothing ever happens. Like, nothing ever happens. Liberals put something forward, and even if it's good, the Conservatives may vote against it, and just because that's politics, right? Now, have we seen the Conservatives do that? No, we haven't. The Conservatives Pierre Poilievre has literally said, if I have good ideas, which I do, lots of them, and Carney keeps stealing them, at least they're going to be used to help the betterment of Canada and Canadians. The fear, though, is that nothing ever happens. Like, there could be ways for the NDP or even the Bloc or the Green Party with their one seat to just abstain from voting on every single thing, so nothing ever happens. That's obviously a risk and a fear. Is the NDP going to side with the Liberals over the Conservatives on certain issues? We've seen that in the past. We're just gonna have to wait and see how this does play out. There's a lot of moving parts to this, and it is a little up in the air right now as to what exactly is going to happen. But today is the first day back, and we know it's gonna be pretty freaking chaotic, man. Pretty chaotic. A lot of new faces, a lot of a different vibe, but we're going to do our best to keep the energy up, even though I can't yell. Can I yell? Good morning! Did that go through, or did that get cut off? I think it got cut off. Let's see what Steve McKinnon has to say about what we can expect, and then we're going to take a look at what's going on in the House. Because it's open, but it's not good right now. They're just mingling right now. Nothing worthy of watching.
Okay, let's talk about what some of the priorities are. We've seen some big announcements already last week. I think we got another one coming later today about housing. What kind of pieces of legislation should we expect early on in the fall? Well,
what you're seeing, of course, is us acting on our election commitments. Major projects, housing, indeed, today, a major announcement. And during this session, we'll be certainly presenting bills with respect to crime, keeping communities safe. We understand the concern people have. Particularly, we've worked with the provinces around bail reform, about creating safe spaces around places of worship, for example, and making sure that people aren't intimidated as they go to worship. These are the things that we're going to be doing. We'll also be, of course, presenting a budget, a very important budget in October. The finance minister is busy at work on it right now, and it will chart an economic path for the country.
Okay, let's talk about both of those things.
Yeah, so that, securing places of worship doesn't apply to Christians. They don't care about anything happening to Christians. This is the danger and the psychotic behavior of our Liberal government. Is Christianity is unfortunately on its way out in Canada, yet now I think with everything that's happened, rest in peace to Charlie Kirk, I think Christianity is going to be making a bigger comeback than ever, right? Like, I've personally been going to church. I've brought my family to church, and there's even been some people that have reached out to me in DMs and emails saying that just me openly talking about my experiences with going back to church and the reasons why, which is motivated by Charlie Kirk, that they've now been motivated to go to church. And so I think Canada is coming back to being a Christian land, man, which is pretty phenomenal to see.
I'll start with the bail reform. What changes should we anticipate from existing bail reform? Because one of the criticisms, as you know, and the Conservatives have put forward their own private members' bill on bail reform, is that the previous version of this with the government allowed for some ease, I think, on bail, would be fair to say, that judges look for the easiest opportunity or the opportunity that it made sense to release the offender back into society. Are those the kinds of things that are going to be clamped down?
Well, certainly violent offenders, we needed a new look at that. Let's remember the administration of justice, whether it be Crown prosecutors or courts, or even, for that matter, the capacity of jails to house these offenders or alleged offenders in many cases, is a provincial responsibility. community. We're going to be working with the provinces on that, but we wanted to remove any doubt that, you know, when you see violent offenders getting reinserted into the community, that's something that needs to be addressed, and we're going to be acting on that. The Justice Minister has listened to folks very carefully.
Would that include mandatory minimums, going back to the idea of mandatory minimums for some crimes?
I don't want to go too deeply into the legislation, but as you know, that has to be presented to Parliament first. It's a question of privilege, so I don't want to offend that principle, but what you can expect is that the government will act, I think, very decisively.
Okay, is that the first piece of legislation, though?
The order of legislation, again, is something that we'll determine. We're going to get to work on some existing legislation in this coming week.
Okay, let's talk about the budget. As you said, very significant because of the parameters that the Prime Minister has laid out. He wants to see austerity. He wants to see investment. He's asked for a 15% operational cut across the board for all departments. What kinds of things will be targeted then, if we're talking about operational spending?
Well, look, first of all, there's no question that we need to act on a number of fronts. We need to act to address the trade threats, support industry, steel workers. People watching us this morning, Rosemary, from Sault Ste. Marie or from Hamilton, want to understand that we are going to be supporting those industries, aluminum, the auto sector, significant support.
That's all money, is your point, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
And then if young people are watching, you know, GST on new homes, these things cost money. They are important investments. We cannot not act on those fronts, but what that means is that we've created some fiscal pressure. There will be a deficit that we have to deal with if we want to pass on a healthy fiscal situation to young people in this country.
There's going to be a there's going to be a deficit. Dude, these people are nuts. Oh my goodness. They are literally bankrupting us right in front of our eyes. And like, yeah, but you know, we kind of have to, right? We kind of have to do that. My goodness. Absolutely insane, folks. Absolutely insane. All right, so here's what's happening. Question period's about to begin. And we're going to now step foot into the ring. But before we do, ladies and gentlemen, all I ever ask on this channel, other than the occasional signing of a petition, the first to do it, by the way, we're first on everything, is to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Turn post notifications on, because we bring you the live debates every single day. We do it faster than the media, better than the media. We got a better community than the media, and we have way more fun without the media. And throw some W's in the chat, because we're about to see Pierre Poilievre back in the House, which is what we all love to see, for the first time in a very, very long time. The summer has passed. We're back to work, and here we are. So throw some W's down, and let's have some fun. Here we go.
David felt very strong. He felt that he didn't need therapy. Then he experienced a few hardships, and David found himself haunted by his old demons again, and he had kept in touch with those friends. My wife, Caro, wrote this on Facebook this month. 7 months ago today, she wrote, "My son took his own life because he didn't want to ask for help, because he didn't want to accept the hand we offered him.
Good to
Today
see
is
the
suicide
W's.
prevention day. Please ask for help or accept the help offered to you by those who love you. To all of David's friends, don't do what he did. There's always someone who loves you, ready to help you.
Bro. Thank
David,
you, man.
we love
Thank
you."
Day Esports, welcome to the membership, Canadian.
Les plus sincères condoléances.
My most sincere condolences to the member.
Aaron Mills.
Mr. Speaker, it was a busy summer in Mississauga, Erin Mills. I met with constituents across my riding, listening to their concerns and their hopes for the future of Canada. I hosted my annual community barbecue where thousands of neighbors and their families came together to enjoy a meal and connect with our community. I facilitated roundtables for constructive solution finding and joined my community in their events and their celebrations. What I heard most clearly was a growing concern about crime. Families want safe streets, parents want peace of mind for their children, and seniors want security in their homes and online. These concerns cannot be ignored. We must be ready to meet the moment. Our priority must be to reduce crime, support families, and ensure that Canadians feel secure where they live. I will continue to work with colleagues in this House to deliver real solutions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Brampton West.
Speaker, the Prime Minister promised to fix the broken bail system, but he left for summer vacation without delivering, and he returns to the Parliament still empty-handed. Let me share with you how bad the crime waves are in Brampton and across Canada. Violent crime up 55%, gun crime up 130%, hate crimes are up 258%, extortions up 350%, and overdoses are tearing through our neighborhoods. In Brampton, a home invasion resulted in the death of a young Canadian. This is becoming the norm in Canada. Mr. Speaker, Canadians deserve a justice system that protects Canadians. It's time to put victims ahead of criminals, and let's put repeat violent offenders in jail, not bail. Mr. Speaker, Canadians expect safer streets and neighborhoods, not more liberal delays and excuses. It's time for action. It's time for change. I urge Prime Minister to put political games aside and protect Canadians from these everyday crimes.
The honourable member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, this is my first time rising this session, and I wish to thank from the bottom of my heart the man who was a sociologist, a builder of nations. He was a pedagogue, the eternal Guy Rocher. He passed away on September 3rd at the age of 101. He was the father of secularism in Quebec and also the father of our French language charter. He was a pioneer of our society. He is at the base and the core of everything that we are. On behalf of the Bloc Québécois, I wish to express my most sincere condolences to his loved ones. Without Guy Rocher, there wouldn't have been the incredible, noble project to make Quebec a country. Thank you, Mr. Rocher. You lived over 100 years, but you will live on eternally in our minds.
The honourable member for Cumberland-Colchester. Cumberland-Colchester. The honourable member for Cumberland-Colchester.
My apologies, Mr. Speaker. My time was given to someone else.
Member for Lakeland.
Canadians still pay the price for the last anti-development Liberal decade. 6 months ago, to get elected, the Prime Minister promised to put shovels in the ground on big projects at, quote, unimaginable speeds. But what Canadians got was the same old Liberal bait and switch, photo ops and more bureaucracy because the PM is just another Liberal. They say 5 projects made their secret list so far, some already approved and some already being built. Not a single pipeline to create Canadian jobs with Canadian steel and pay for programs all Canadians want. Conservatives work to improve and pass Bill C-5, but it's not enough to get back the $60 billion that left Canada due to Liberal red tape. C-5 admits the Liberals' own laws block building. They must scrap the no new pipelines, never build anything anywhere Bill C-69, the shipping ban, Bill C-48, Canadian energy censorship, the Liberal oil and gas cap, and the federal industrial carbon tax so Canada can compete. Conservatives want to unleash natural resources to make a strong, united Canada, self-reliant, affordable.
The honourable member for Saint Laurent. The honourable member for Saint Laurent.
Mr. Speaker, on Saturday, I had the opportunity to participate in the Peace Walk in my constituency. This event is organized by the Federation for Universal Peace and other organizations in my riding of Saint Laurent to mark the International Day of Peace. It reminds us that peace begins right here at home.
On September 21st each year also reminds us of the millions affected by conflicts and wars worldwide, and that we cannot let values like empathy, compassion, and cooperation falter, at home or abroad. These are the values that make us Canadian. They are the reason we chose Canada to be our home. Dans un contexte où des incidents haineux et violents.
Hateful and violent incidents are on the rise in Canada. This is why we must build inclusive communities where each and every community member feels respected and safe. That is how we can build a strong Canada.
Our shared responsibility as Canadians and as global citizens to uphold peace every single day. Merci. Hear, hear.
The honourable member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
Oh my goodness, I
We
see
all want
Freeland.
Canada to succeed, and that's why we'll hold the Prime Minister accountable for his promises compared to the results. Do his words match his deeds? He promised the fastest growing economy in the G7, yet we've seen shrinking growth, high unemployment, rising food prices, and worsening debt. He promised he would double home building, but it's fallen, and he's adding more bureaucracy that hasn't built a single home. He promised after 10 years of Liberals driving up costs, crime, and chaos, he would be different. Sadly, whether it's unemployment, the cost of living, home building, tariffs, crime, or immigration, it's gotten worse. It's more broken Liberal promises from another Liberal Prime Minister. But Conservatives are here to help. We'll oppose the things that aren't good for Canadians, support the things that are, and propose solutions to the problems that Liberals have created.
Well said.
The honourable member for Markham-Stouffville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to tell this House about a remarkable constituent of mine from Markham-Stouffville. In 2023, Adam Shah was just 9 years old when he came up with the idea of organising Adam's Ride to Recovery, a charity event to raise money for Markham-Stouffville Hospital. He encouraged his family members and friends at Wendat Village Public School to take part. Now, Adam is 11, and the Ride to Recovery has become an annual event. I was happy to be there this summer to see 150 participants on bikes and on foot. The ride is supported by the phenomenal people at the Markham-Stouffville Hospital Foundation, and each year the ride has raised more money than the year before, now totaling $3,185. Adam has shown an incredible example of leadership and commitment to community service at such a young age. Congratulations to Adam and the Ride to Recovery team. Keep up the amazing work.
Okay, sit down.
The honourable member for Lethbridge.
Freedom of speech is the cornerstone of a free society. It means we will hear ideas that we disagree with and express views that may be offensive. This freedom can make us uncomfortable or even hurt, but silencing voices, whether for a moment or forever, is never the answer. We must protect a society where people can hold beliefs and share opinions without fear of losing their jobs, being censored, or worse. Charlie Kirk was an outspoken advocate for faith, family, and freedom. Many disagreed with him, some were offended. Tragically, on September 10th, he was assassinated in an attempt to silence his voice. But when has political violence ever been the solution? It destroys dialogue, it undermines democracy, and it breeds fear instead of understanding. True progress comes from persuasion, not intimidation. As we grapple with our personal response to this, may we be honorable in our actions. May we fiercely defend the right of our opponents to speak freely. And may we join our hearts with Charlie's family, his wife Erica, and his 2 young children.
Thank you. May the Liberals have to be told to stand up. They're not even all standing up. They're not even all standing up, the Liberals.
Member for Ottawa, Vanier, Gloucester.
I got goosebumps
Mr.
over that.
Speaker, I rise today to pay tribute to Ken Dryden, whose passing is a profound loss for Canada. I had the privilege of working with Ken and witnessed firsthand his thoughtfulness, intellect, and dedication. He was deeply committed to improving sport culture and advancing efforts to better protect athletes from concussions. While many will remember him as a Hall of Fame goaltender and 6-time Stanley Cup champion with the Montreal Canadiens, but he was so much more. He was a scholar, an author, a parliamentarian, Canadian, a leader whose influence extended far beyond the ice. Ken's life left an indelible mark both in sport and in public life. His vision, generosity, and commitment to excellence continue to inspire Canadians across generations. On behalf of this House, I extend my deepest condolences to his family, his loved ones, and all those whose lives he touched. May he rest in peace. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There's Pierre.
L'honorable député d'Hochelaga, Rosemont-Est.
The honourable member for Hochelaga, Rosemont-Est. René Aumier-Roy was a broadcaster, a cultural expert, and, as he liked to say, a professional spectator. He just passed away at the age of 85. René taught me so many things. I won't talk about you. I'll speak directly to you. I spent 10 years with you, working with you, and 40 years listening to you. I always appreciated your spirit, your unique nature, and your defense of our culture. You were never complacent. You never believed in objectivity. You always pursued truth and honesty. Renee, you were an excellent communicator. Listening is, of course, a talent, and that was one of yours, which you used alongside your curiosity. Renee, I'm sure that wherever you are, it's incredibly distracting. Goodbye, Renee.
Put some W's down for the Conservatives mentioning Charlie Kirk, man. That was lovely.
Questions orales.
All questions. Questions orales. Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Bill Poilievre.
My mother taught me never to be late. With extremely important people in East Central Alberta, Mr. Speaker, after which I was honored to be elected by the great people of Battle River Crowfoot. I thank the great Damon Kirk who made it possible, and I thank the Prime Minister for calling a prompt
The audio cut out at the wrong time.
I wonder if one day he might regret that decision, but in a spirit of good faith, I wonder if he agrees that our goal should be a Canada where hard work is rewarded, where food and homes are affordable, where streets are safe, where borders are solid, and where we're all united under a proud flag.
Yeah. Well said.
Honourable Prime Minister.
So what we heard, well said.
Mr. Speaker, I'm sure I speak for all parliamentarians in welcoming the member for Battle River Crowfoot back to the House of Commons.
He's not too happy about this.
He may notice a few things have changed since he was here last. The largest women's caucus in Canadian history.
Oh my God, he wore a same shirt. Oh, dude. Carney's got a woman to the left and the right.
The spirit of collaboration that was shown in the opening session, including in the passage of the Build Canada Act and the projet de loi du Bloc québécois en ce qui concerne.
And the Bloc's bill in terms of protecting supply management. I agree entirely with the sentiment and objectives of the Leader of the Opposition.
I was deliberately flexible on time because it's a special day, but now we're going to respect the 35-second limit. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Some things never change. Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my constituents of Battlefoot Crowfoot, who we had a by-election very quickly, and sometimes the Prime Minister may regret his decision, but I think we all agree with the mission of re-establishing a Canada where hard work, an affordable home and homes and food, in safe streets and solid borders, all united under a proud flag. Does the Prime Minister agree with this?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I agree entirely with the sentiment and objectives that the Leader of the Opposition has just expressed for our great country. Thank you.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister mentioned how much had changed, and it's true. I look around this place, and when I left, there was a Liberal Prime Minister who was making excuses about breaking promises, running massive deficits, costs, crime, chaos were all out of control. And whereas today, we have a Liberal Prime Minister breaking promises, making excuses, running massive deficits with costs, crime, and chaos out of control. Mr. Speaker, when will the Prime Minister match the grand promises with the real change Canadians need?
Now is when you put a W down in the chat for Pierre.
Mr. Speaker, I understand the Minister, or the Minister, promotion. Come on over. I understand the Leader of the Opposition was busy. He missed the largest tax cut for 22 million Canadians. He missed the cut on the GST for new homes. He missed
Carney's such an
eliminating
idiot.
all federal barriers to trade. He missed. I hope I'll have another opportunity to finish a very long list of what the Leader of Opposition.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Dans l'esprit.
In a nonpartisan spirit, we're simply going to insist that the Prime Minister adhere to his own promises. He promised the strongest growth in the G7 for our economy, and now our economy is declining the fastest in the G7. He also promised that food would cost less. It's more, and food inflation is accelerating. He promised a budget in October. And
we're not going to get one until November.
Now we'll see one maybe in November with a double deficit. So, inaudible.
Prime Minister.
Yep, inaudible.
Mr. Speaker, this government has been absolutely focused on improving affordability for Canadians. That's why the largest tax cut, 22 million Canadians, every taxpayer in this country. That's why the cut to the GST. That's why the launch of Build Canada Homes, which will reduce the cost of home building in this country. That's why we back the CRTC to get broadband costs down for Canadians. We are building the strongest economy throughout the worst crisis in our history.
No, you're not.
The Leader of the Opposition.
In the spirit of nonpartisanship, we are simply going to hold this Prime Minister to his own promises. He promised that he would spend less. He's already spending 8% more. He promised the budget would be in October. Now he says it will be in November, more than halfway through the fiscal year. He promised that his government would have a smaller deficit than Justin Trudeau. Instead, now we hear that it might even be double. So a trivia question. Can the Prime Minister tell us, has there ever been a Prime Minister who has successfully doubled the deficit without even introducing a budget?
Wow. And that's why Pierre is back.
It's a trick question.
It's a trick question, Andrew Scheer yells over.
Mr. Speaker,
He's laughing
this government
at us going bankrupt.
is undertaking the biggest investment in protecting Canadians in the Canadian military. Doubling our investment in the Canadian military from last year when this member last sat in the House by the end of this decade. This government, there's more.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
There's a lot more debt is what there is, Mr. Speaker. A lot more debt than we ever imagined would be possible. This is a Prime Minister who said we'd have the fastest growing economy in the G7. We have the fastest shrinking economy in the G7. He said grocery prices would go down. They're going up faster than ever before. He promised to create jobs. He has the second highest unemployment in the G7. He's really reminding us all of that sign at the bar. Free beer tomorrow. But you come back the next day and the beer is still not free, and tomorrow never comes. Mr. Speaker, why is it that all of this Prime Minister's promises of yesterday turn into today's disappointments?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think if we are going to build the strongest economy in the G7, and we will, we need to be clear. We need to be clear about the scale of the crisis we are in. We need to be clear about the scale of investment that we need. $60 billion in new projects announced last week. $200 billion in investment announced last week. $100 billion in housing investment announced just yesterday. That's the scale of what we need.
Drop some else.
The honourable member
Drop some
from
else.
Bellay-Champlain. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister was elected saying that he would be the best to face the tariff crisis and the trade war. Almost 4 months have gone by, and Canada is not coming out on top. At best, we can say that it hasn't been a success. Can he commit now to put an end to tariffs and an end of a trade war agreement with the United States, his true priority? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the current situation is this. We have the best deal with the U.S. worldwide right now. We're talking about more than 85%. 85% is enormous of our exports are covered under free trade with the U.S. We have the lowest tariff in the world right now. That is a success. The honourable member for Bellay-Champlain. I would contest such statements which would not live up to economic analysis. We would have to look at that in another forum. But the Prime Minister says we have a privileged relationship with the U.S. and it no longer exists. But this statement didn't go over very well in Washington. Can he state today that he is confident that he can reestablish our privileged relationship of trust between Canada and the U.S. administration quickly as the best way to put our trade relationship back on a right track? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Canada-U.S. relationship is good. Yes.
No, it's not.
Are experiencing
It's over.
difficulties and challenges, some setbacks, but I am proud that this government stands up for Canada, but that's true. I speak regularly with the President over the past weekend in terms of the current situation between Ukraine and Russia and China. We spoke. The honourable member for Bellay-Champlain. The Prime Minister's rare presence in Washington, both in terms of the U.S. administration and the economic troubles. Well, his absence was noted a great deal in Washington. When did he go for the last time to Washington, and when will the PM start seriously going to the capital city of our main partner and make it a priority, rather than talking about infrastructure that won't even be put in place until the end of Mr. Trump's term? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the U.S. President is a modern man. I speak with him regularly. We send each other text messages. But what's the most important right now for Canada is to diversify our trade.
Carney's bragging about being buddies with
Europe,
Trump?
in Asia, with Africa, and South America. Thank you.
What is going on?
Same Liberal promises, the same Liberal results. Canadians are paying the price for another Liberal Prime Minister's broken promises. This Prime Minister said to Canadians that he would be judged by prices at the grocery store. Results are in. This Prime Minister has failed. Food prices have surged 40% since the last Liberal Prime Minister broke that same promise the last time. Should this Prime Minister's promise to Canadians not be judged by food prices at the grocery store, but the number of families being forced to food banks?
Right.
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the number one cost for Canadians is their housing, and we have taken action to make housing more affordable. Yesterday,
No, it's not. You're making us all
Prime Minister
bankrupt.
and I announced the launch of Build Canada Homes, which will be a one-stop shop for making housing more affordable across Canada. And we're launching that on 6 pieces of Canada lands, 4,000 homes that we will start building immediately. Thank you.
4,000 homes for $13 billion.
Canadians can't afford to put food on the table, let alone pay for the Liberals' bureaucracy when it comes to housing. But let's be clear. This was the Prime Minister's promise. These were the Prime Minister's words. This is the Prime Minister's failure. Food prices are going to go up $700 per Canadian family this year. Canned soup is up 26%, apples 14%, tuna 19%. The daily essentials have become unaffordable. Is sticker shock at the grocery store the experience that this Prime Minister promised Canadians?
Wow.
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As far as promises delivered goes, this government promised to launch Build Canada Homes and make the largest investment in affordable housing in Canadian history. We are taking action where it matters most, and Canadians need support on affordable housing. Across the board, we need more support, but starting with housing, and housing first, particularly for those on low incomes and those who are homeless. We are taking action.
$13 billion for 4,000 homes.
Told Canadians that they should judge him by the prices they pay at the grocery store. But food inflation is 70% above target. The grocery prices are up 40% in less than a decade, and all of those years were the Liberals were in power. And the cost of food has risen overall more than inflation every single month that this Prime Minister has been here. Canadians should judge the Prime Minister by his words. That's only fair. But is it that he never shops for food, or is it that he thinks inflation is something that happens to other people?
Just like Trudeau.
Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, we'll come back to the number one cost for Canadians and concern is around affordability of housing.
That's so true.
I know the Conservatives and the members opposite do not care about affordable housing. We're here to take action on it. Make life more affordable for Canadians, starting with their homes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Are these people mentally deranged? That's all the Conservatives care
The Minister
about.
cannot ignore the problem of millions of Canadians using a food bank every single month, and that hasn't changed. It happened under this Liberal government's watch, and now they're making excuses or changing the subject entirely. Canadians are getting fleeced at the grocery store, and it's only going to get worse because next year their bill will be $700 higher per family. That's another Liberal broken promise, another Liberal bait and switch by another Liberal Prime Minister. So is that the experience that he's now promising Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
We listen to Canadians, something that the Conservative may want to do a bit more. And what Canadians have told us, Mr. Speaker, is affordability is the first concern. The second is housing, and the third is the economy. What have we done, Mr. Speaker, while the leader was away? The first thing we did for Canadians was to reduce taxes for 22 million Canadians, Mr. Speaker. Everyone got a raise on Canada Day, Mr. Speaker. The second thing, we removed GST on first-time home buyer, Mr. Speaker, and we are going to build with Canadians, with every Canadian, the strongest economy in the G7. That's what this Liberal government is about.
Yeah, because our economy will somehow be stronger than
The Honourable Member
America's.
from Mégantic-L'Érable-Lotbinière. On the day that the Liberal Prime Minister was sworn in, he stated that Canadians would judge him based on the cost of groceries. And let's look at the results of this Liberal system. Food inflation is now 70% above target. Families are paying more, children are earning less, and this is just another broken promise by the Liberals. Does the Prime Minister admit that his own words were just another Liberal deception because the Prime Minister is now just another Liberal like the rest of them? Why is this Prime Minister making grocery shopping an increasingly painful and expensive experience for families? The Right Honourable, the Minister of Canadian Identity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had the pleasure this morning with my colleague, the Minister of Infrastructure and Housing.
Hey, put some W's down in the chat for the translators, man. They're getting in a lot of flack from people. They're doing their best. It's the first day back.
Homes.
They're knocking it out of the park. It's not easy to switch a brain from French to English like that.
To help families.
Let's show some support for the translators, man. Throw some W's down.
We're going to do this across our country, Mr. Speaker.
We're doing a really good job.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-l'Érable-Aubigny. Are the Liberals not ashamed that their Prime Minister did not keep his promise to make groceries more affordable? Since this Liberal Prime Minister came to power, the cost of stewing beef rose 22%, potatoes up 20%, onions 11%. Even Bolduc can no longer afford a good stew. Canadians will judge him based on the cost of groceries, and he said so himself. The verdict is clear. Another broken Liberal promise. Why is this Prime Minister just making groceries a painful and expensive experience for families? The
Minister
dude,
it's so painfully expensive.
Mr. Speaker, I'm surprised by my colleague's question. Not only did we listen to the Conservative constituents and all Canadians, they told us one thing, Mr. Speaker: tackle the cost of living. And the first thing our Liberal government did was to lower tax for 22 million Canadians, Mr. Speaker. That's money back in the pockets of people in his riding, Mr. Speaker. The second thing that the Canadians asked us to do is to build affordable homes. And yesterday, Mr. Speaker, we launched Build Canada Homes to help more families. On this side of the House, we're going to work to build the strongest economy in the G7. The Honourable Member for Montmorency-Charlevoix. Merci, Mr. Speaker. When his cabinet was sworn in, the Prime Minister said that Canadians will be able to judge him based on the cost of groceries. Well, everyone in my riding talked about their concerns, and the cost of groceries are at the top of that list. The Liberal government was promising better prices, and once again, they're not delivering the goods. So, since the Liberals have been to power, groceries have gone up by 40%. The PM's promise for fair price groceries is just another broken promise. The Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, what young Canadians and Canadians in general want,
by the way, this guy's
is obviously
nickname
to be able to have an affordable life in Canada, to be able
when the translator's not translating,
buy a home,
he just sounds like a little
and an
chihuahua.
affordable home, and also to have a resilient economy for the future. Because on this side of the House, we've always understood that the best thing we can do is to build a strong economy for all Canadians. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, I can tell you that the Liberals will work together to build the strongest economy, to make life affordable for Canadians, build more homes, make Canada, Mr. Speaker, the best economy in the G7. The Honourable Member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, only one summer and 10 years back in terms of the environment, the Prime Minister adopted C5 to improved projects without social license, and they want to skip environmental evaluations for pipelines, and they're not talking about zero emissions vehicles, and even they're taking a step back in terms of the sale of these vehicles. And even went even further, they refuses to commit his GHG reduction emissions in the midst of a climate crisis. Will this government keep its own, respect its own targets for 2030? The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change. We continued to fight against climate change. We know it's important. It was important for future generations and for our economy, because when we look around the world, everyone wants low carbon products, and that's exactly what we want to do, is to build a strong Canada and it'll be one that will be good for future generations. The Honourable Member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, let's talk about the government's big projects with C5. C5 is overreach that even affects good projects, because good projects don't need to skirt environmental impact assessments or federal legislation. They don't need to snub social license. If they're doing this, then these aren't good projects. Can this government promise that all these major projects will respect environmental norms, legislation, and the will of Quebecers? The Honourable Minister of the Environment and Climate Change. Mr. Speaker, it's always interesting to hear the Bloc talk about important projects when the Bloc leader did authorize drilling on Anticosti Island when he was the Minister of the Environment. But now we are going to build a strong economy, and that is clean for future generations. That's what we're doing, and we are going to build a strong Canada for future generations.
The Honourable Member for Parry Sound, Muskoka.
The Prime Minister promised to double home building to 500,000 homes per year, but today housing starts are down 13%, another broken Liberal promise. Yesterday, the Prime Minister introduced a fourth $13 billion housing bureaucracy to build, wait for it, 4,000 homes. What blocks home building is government bureaucracy, red tape, and taxes. So why does the Prime Minister believe that adding $13 billion more bureaucracy is now suddenly going to solve the housing crisis?
Liberals, am I right?
Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I'm happy to share that there is a significant commitment, $13 billion, that will be invested in housing and leveraging private investment as well, working with private capital, with builders and communities across Canada to make sure we are building the affordable housing that Canadians need, particularly young Canadians who can't afford to get into the market. Those 4,000 units are the first start on Canada lands and the very, very beginning of the most comprehensive investment in Canadian affordable housing.
Member for Parry Sound,
That's
Muskoka.
crazy.
$13 billion for a fourth federal
3.25
Ottawa housing
million
bureaucracy
it's
to
gonna
build
cost.
4,000 homes is not a solution. It is yet another Liberal boondoggle that will cost Canadians a fortune and will solve nothing. The Prime Minister said the core challenge present in the housing market is it's just too hard to build. It's hard to build because of government taxes and red tape. In Toronto and Vancouver, the cost of government on a new home is over 25%. Housing starts there have stopped. Why does the Prime Minister not understand that if we're going to get homes built, we have to cut the bureaucracy, not add $13 billion more?
The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the member opposite and the Conservatives may not believe in investing in affordable housing. This government does. This government is making an unprecedented investment in building affordable housing in partnership with the private sector, in partnership with cities, provinces, territories, Indigenous nations. We are going to deliver with our partners like never before.
The Honourable Member for Barrie Springwater, Oro Medonte.
Mr. Speaker, under this Liberal government, lawlessness has become the norm in Canada. In many cities, children can't play safely in parks, families can't walk down sidewalks, businesses are suffering, and residents are living in fear. Tent encampments and lawlessness are taking over public spaces. This summer, Barrie Mayor Alex Nuttall was forced to take the extraordinary step of declaring a state of emergency to try and restore order back to Barrie. Wow. Canada was not like this 10 years ago. When will this Prime Minister stop this reckless Liberal agenda and bring order back to our communities?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, our plan to keep communities safe will keep drugs, guns, and criminals off our streets. We're partnering with police services across the country to fight organized crime. We'll make it tougher for violent criminals to get bail and impose stricter sentences to repeat violent offenders. We're hiring 1,000 CBSA and
Isn't this guy like a walking conflict of interest or something?
Frontline personnel who are already keeping our borders safe. This work will be bolstered by investing in community safety initiatives to stop crime before it starts. Mr. Speaker, we will always be there to keep Canadian communities safe.
The Honourable Member for Cloverdale, Langley City.
Mr. Speaker, this Liberal Prime Minister swaggered in promising a massive surge in home building, 500,000 new homes a year. After all that hype, Vancouver families are still staring at million-dollar price tags. That surge hasn't even made a ripple. Projects are stalled, permits crawl through red tape, and the only thing going up faster is the bureaucracy he's building. Now that big pledge has shrunk to just 4,000 homes at the cost of $4 billion, in yet another Liberal broken promise. When will the Liberals stop building bureaucracy that makes homes more expensive for Canadians?
The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Liberal government focuses on building affordable housing with our partners. This is an unprecedented investment alongside a cut to the GST for first-time home buyers, which we are rolling out. We are focused on delivering solutions, on delivering housing in the communities that need it the most, and that investment was never seen from Conservative governments, certainly not in the history that I'm familiar with. We saw housing not being a priority for the members opposite. We're focused on it delivering.
The honourable member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals are back at it again with a new bureaucracy for housing, but one that ultimately creates inflation and solves absolutely nothing.
That's right.
The Prime Minister promised Canadians he would double housing construction, committing to build 500,000 units per year. But what's he actually doing? Proposing a new bureaucracy that will only build 4,000 new homes. Mr. Speaker, we know this government is back at it again with more bureaucracy instead of focusing on building more homes. Why? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Culture. We have to work together on this, Mr. Speaker. We need to work with the municipalities, with stakeholders, with the provinces. The Conservatives think you just need to insult people, but we think you need to work together, and that's what we've done this morning. The Minister of Infrastructure and Housing and myself made a historic announcement for the construction of 20,000 units. And that's just a start, Mr. Speaker. We're going to do it all across the country. We'll do that together with our partners.
The honourable member for Carleton.
Mr. Speaker,
Canadians
made it clear
Throw some L's.
in the last campaign
L's in the
that
chat.
they expect us to deliver real housing solutions, to get more homes built faster, to bring down the cost of housing so that young people, families, those most vulnerable, and those along the housing continuum can access housing that meets their needs. Can the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure please tell this House about the government's recently announced plan to deliver affordable housing to Canadians?
The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'll thank the member from Carleton for his question and for the focus today on affordable housing. And I know the member from Carleton is very concerned about making sure it's green, sustainable housing, and we will certainly focus on ensuring that energy costs are low, that these are resilient homes that get us through the challenges ahead with climate change. We will make sure they are affordable first and foremost and build a new Canadian industry manufacturing the best homes in the world. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Kamloops, Thompson-Nicola.
The Prime Minister said he would fix safer streets for the on behalf of the Liberals. He promised to fix the broken Liberal justice system. And yet, an 8-year-old was killed while sleeping, the place he should have been safest. Now, Mr. Speaker, the Justice Minister said this isn't the Wild West, and he's right. 8-year-old children sleeping in their homes and getting killed did not happen in the Wild West. The Liberals say they're tough on crime, but they won't repeal Bills C-5 and Bill C-75. Another bait and switch from another Liberal Prime Minister. When will these same old Liberals get tough on crime?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, obviously the circumstances my honourable colleague raises constitute an entire tragedy that should shock the conscience of every Canadian. But when the honourable member poses a question about repealing Bill C-75, I would suggest it is a good idea to read it first. He does not seemingly understand that bill actually makes it harder for people who are charged with intimate partner violence to receive bail. Now, I am willing to work in good faith with members of any party to help strengthen the bail system, have harsher penalties for serious crimes, and most importantly, to keep Canada safe. The only question I have that remains is whether the Conservatives will join us in that effort.
The honourable member for Kamloops, Thompson, Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives have been waiting for 10 years to help the Liberals create safe streets, and they have brought forward next to nothing. I spent some time with the Vancouver police this summer. What did we see? What do we see in Vancouver? Guns, lawlessness, drug overdoses. I saw firsthand the increases of I saw firsthand the 152% increase in overdoses. The Liberals promised safer streets, lower overdoses, another bait and switch to go with their broken promises. When will these Liberals fix the justice system that they...
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Man, we need to fix the system.
Mr. Speaker, I too had the opportunity to be with the Vancouver police and to see firsthand the challenges that they're facing. I was there with their fentanyl czar, Kevin Brasseau, and we saw the incredible work of the Vancouver police in ensuring that their communities are safer. In fact, just recently, 2 days ago, the Mayor of Vancouver indicated that the program that they put in place is working. Together with the work that we're going to be doing on bail reform and ensuring that violent criminal repeat offenders are put away, we will make our community safer, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Oxford.
I don't believe that guy for a second.
Violent crime is up over 55%, and more than half of Canadians don't feel safe in their own neighbourhoods. This Prime Minister promised to crack down on crime, yet repeat offenders keep getting out on bail. Another broken promise, but Canadians are paying the price. Families are shattered, lives have been lost, and that's why my Jail Not Bail Act will put these criminals behind bars. So the question is simple. Will the Prime Minister support our bill, restore safe streets, or was that another broken Liberal promise?
Oh, it absolutely was. Put some W's down.
Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, it was in our platform. We've got a mandate and we've promised Canadians that we are going to keep our communities safe. This fall, we're tabling legislation to make bail tougher, to make sentencing harder and stiffer on repeat violent criminals. We're going to make sure that these types of criminals stay behind bars and that everyone feels safe in their homes and on their streets.
Hear, hear.
The honourable member for Saskatoon West.
The Prime Minister promised to fix the Liberals' broken bail system, but he hasn't delivered. Another broken Liberal promise, another Liberal bait and switch, because this Prime Minister is just another Liberal. Chief McBride, Saskatoon's top cop, says it's a struggle every day with repeat offenders. The Prime Minister says he'll get tough on crime, but since the Liberals took power, repeat offenders have fueled a crime wave in Canada, with violent crimes up 55%. Mr. Speaker, when will the Prime Minister stop breaking promises and put repeat violent offenders behind bars?
Great question.
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, it's encouraging to see that there is alignment between the Conservative opposition and the Liberal government when it comes to improving public safety, including through the adoption of stronger laws to help build safer communities. I have good news for my colleague. We will be introducing legislation during this parliamentary session to strengthen bail reform in this country, to have harsher sentences for violent repeat offenders, and to make sure that we have the support to help keep communities safe with direct investment in law enforcement. Mr. Speaker, I look forward to working with my honourable colleague and members on both sides of the aisle to advance public safety in this country.
The honourable member
if you would have done it, he would have done it under
promised
Trudeau.
to fix their broken criminal justice system and did nothing all summer. Meanwhile, 7 shootings have occurred in Vaughan in less than 3 weeks. A father, Abdul Aleem Faruqi, was shot dead protecting his family. Families across Canada are terrified, and repeat violent offenders are still on our streets because of weak Liberal laws like Bill C-5 and C-75. Another Liberal broken promise, another Liberal bait and switch, because this Prime Minister is just another Liberal. When will this Prime Minister's broken promises stop?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, the tragedy that the member refers to is one that's impacted my community greatly, and my sincere sympathy goes out to the family. We're going to make sure that repeat violent offenders are kept behind bars. Mr. Speaker, this summer I consulted with many police agencies across the country. A lot of their recommendations are going to be seen in this bill, but provinces too have to do their part to fix the broken justice system. They have to invest in Crown prosecutions, and they have to make sure that there are enough judges to hear the trials.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
The Prime Minister promised to grow the economy, but it's shrinking. And since he took office, tens of thousands of jobs have been lost. But the Liberals are on track this year to bring in the most temporary foreign work permits ever. It's so bad that a former Liberal immigration minister just said that they admitted that they let industry become, quote, addicted to temporary work. And he's right. Amid the PM's pledge to cut the public service, even the Liberals are using TFWs to fill federal government jobs. We've talked about buying Canadian. Why isn't the Prime Minister making people hire them?
Yeah, that's a great one.
The Honourable Minister.
Good job, Michelle Rumpel-Garner.
Mr. Speaker, temporary foreign worker use is down by 70% in this country. Less than 1% of our workforce is temporary foreign workers. And in fact, in Canada, Canadians come first for any available jobs. That's why the department has rigid rules for employers that are looking to fill vacancies with workers from other countries. And Mr. Speaker, if employers are abusing the program, they receive serious penalties, including banning from the use of this program.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Hill South.
Only a Liberal Prime Minister could promise to secure our border and fail in just 6 months. Over the summer, asylum claims from illegal U.S. crossings spiked dramatically, piling onto a staggering backlog of nearly 300,000 unprocessed claims. Many of these are likely bogus, yet claimants are immediately entitled to work permits, health care, and benefits on the backs of Canadian taxpayers. Another broken Liberal promise, another bait and switch, because he's just another Liberal Prime Minister. How much longer is the Prime Minister going to keep our border open and let it become a backdoor, unplanned stream of economic migration before he finally takes action?
Great. The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
That was well said.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. While the opposition is concentrating on, making assumptions and speaking about things that are not there, let me tell you that with the asylum system, our numbers are down 40%. We've also introduced Bill C-2, which will strengthen our border. And this legislation is in front of the House. We campaigned for, and Canadians have gave us a mandate, so did Conservatives, and we hope that the Conservatives will help us pass the legislation.
The Honourable Member for Abbotsford.
She doesn't know what the hell she's doing.
Promised to fix Canada's immigration system and broke that promise. Up to 500,000 people have overstayed their visas in Canada. Teens can't find work, healthcare is overwhelmed, housing is out of reach, and crime rates are soaring because of the Liberals' reckless policies. The Liberals continue to maintain high levels of immigration and won't even remove those who are non-citizen criminals convicted of serious crimes. The Liberals have had all summer to find these non-citizen criminals and remove them. Why didn't they?
The Honourable Minister of Citizenship and Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, I know Canadians are concerned. Our government has been working tirelessly, and we understand that we need to see a return to sustainable immigration levels that fits our capacity and that serves our growth. And that is exactly why we are focused on our levels plan with reducing both temporary and permanent residents in this country. And we are seeing results. We're bringing population to sustainable levels and decreasing the pressures on housing and services. We are focused focused on solutions on this side of the House, and there is legislation in front of this Parliament, and we hope that the Conservatives will support it.
The honourable member for Calgary Nose Hill.
So let me get this straight. The Prime Minister promised to grow the economy, but it's shrinking. He promised he'd create jobs, but Canadians are losing it. We're in a healthcare crisis and a housing crisis, but the Liberals still issued record numbers of TFW permits this summer. They continued to let the asylum system be abused, and they still haven't removed countless non-citizen criminals. Mr. Speaker, why does the Immigration Minister still have her job?
Yeah.
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, temporary foreign workers make up less than 1% of our total workforce. In fact, this is a program where employers must demonstrate that they vigorously and actively looked for Canadian workers, because Canadian workers come first, Mr. Speaker. If an employer is found to have violated this program, there are severe penalties. There is also a tip line, Mr. Speaker, so that if Canadians or any member of Parliament feels there's been an abuse, this can be reported to officials and it will be investigated.
The honourable member for Longueuil-Saint-Hubert. Mr. Speaker, Canada is a nation of builders. That's why earlier this month, the Prime Minister announced the first series of projects for the Historic Major Projects Office. That includes projects as diverse and ambitious as the expansion of LNG production in BC, the development of SMRs in Ontario, major mining projects in Western Canada, and the Contrecoeur Terminal Container Project near my riding of Longueuil-Saint-Hubert. Can the Minister of Finance inform this House about the benefits? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank my colleague for his excellent work. Indeed, this major project will increase capacity at the Port of Montreal by about 60%, Mr. Speaker, by providing Eastern Canada with the commercial infrastructure to ensure the flow of goods. With the creation of the Major Projects Office, we're moving from vision to action. Our government is committed to delivering transformative projects that not only create thousands of good jobs, but also connect our diverse regions and stimulate new industries. Mr. Speaker, that's how we're going to make Canada the strongest economy in the G7.
Mr. Speaker, allow me to remind this Prime Minister that on the day he swore in his cabinet, he said that Canadians would judge him by the cost at the grocery store. Well, the judgment is here, and the verdict is failure. Yep. Food inflation is now 70% above target. Wow. Another Liberal broken promise, another Liberal bait and switch, because this Prime Minister is just another Liberal.
Shame.
Add to this rent.
You're right.
6 months later, why are Canadians still being forced to choose between rent and grocery?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I'll once again take this opportunity to let the opposition members know Build Canada Homes is up and running as a one-stop shop to build affordable housing in Canada.
Here, here.
We are going to deliver like never before. We're going to ensure that particularly Canadians who are on low incomes, and there is $1 billion dedicated to transitional supportive housing for those who are homeless or at risk of homelessness.
Wonderful.
We are delivering on the affordability across the country, Mr. Speaker.
Great work.
The Honourable Member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister said when he swore in his cabinet that Canadians would judge him by the cost at the grocery store. But with elbows flying up and down, the Liberal government didn't roll up their sleeves and bring down grocery prices. While the Prime Minister does his chicken dance, 5,000 people use a food bank in Cambridge. Canadians are getting crushed. Food prices are up nearly 40%, and food inflation is 70% above target. Another Liberal broken promise, another Liberal bait and switch, because this Prime Minister is just another Liberal. Is this sticker shock his promise to Canadians? Good job.
Wow.
L'honorable ministre des Finances.
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I have good news for the member. That is a very real issue, and that's why we have a very real answer, Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House. The very first thing that this Prime Minister did for Canadians was to reduce taxes for 20 million Canadians. 22 million Canadians, Mr. Speaker, have more money in their pocket to face the cost of living, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, we're not about slogans. We're not about jokes. We are serious.
Elbows up, literally,
and we will continue
is your
to fight for
slogan.
Canadians at every segment of the way, Mr. Speaker.
L'honorable député de...
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent, Akinemak. Mr. Speaker, we're talking about Canadians' daily problems. When the Prime Minister was sworn in, he said Canadians could judge him based on prices in the grocery stores. 4 months later, groceries are way more expensive. There's inflation across the board, and people are struggling even more because of this broken promise. Canadians are starting to see that the Prime Minister breaks his promises just like all other Liberals before him. Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister explain to Canadians why grocery prices are so much more expensive? The Honourable Finance Minister. Mr. Speaker, Canadians met with the Prime Minister and they saw that they had a Prime Minister who listens and who has a vision and, above all, a man of action. With the new Liberal government, the first thing we did, Mr. Speaker, was to reduce taxes for 22 million Canadians all across the country, recognizing that we need to pull together to help those who are the most in need. But in doing that, Mr. Speaker, we also enabled those who wanted to buy a home to pay less GST, less tax, and at the same time, we have embarked on the most ambitious house building program in Canadian history.
Mr. Speaker, this summer, I heard from folks in my riding of the Bay of Quinte about the cost of living challenges they face. For members of the Canadian...
The Conservatives are cheering because that's what all Canadians are complaining about.
As our government makes a generational investment in our military, can the Minister of National Defence update this House on the support we're providing for our men and women in uniform?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, we know that our forces and their families face challenges as they move across the country from posting to posting. That's why this summer we gave our forces a well-deserved and overdue pay raise. Our $2 billion compensation package is the largest in a generation. It means that untrained sailors, aviators, and soldiers will receive a 20% pay raise. As the brave women and men of the Canadian Armed Forces answer the call to serve, Mr. Speaker, they need to know we've got their backs.
The Honourable Member for Okanagan Lake West, South Kelowna.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised that he would be elbows up and buy Canadian. He broke that promise when he rewarded the Communist Chinese government a $1 billion loan to buy ferries for BC as they tariff our seafood and egg producers. That's not elbows up. It's another Liberal broken promise, another Liberal bait and switch, because this Prime Minister is just another Liberal. Newly uncovered documents show senior Liberals were only concerned about their political interests. They did nothing to cancel the contract and ensure that our shipbuilders could participate. When will this Prime Minister stop rewarding Beijing, cancel this loan, and buy Canadian?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I speak for all members of this House that we are disappointed that BC Ferries made the procurement decision that they made. And, Mr. Speaker, it's really unfortunate that no Canadian companies bid on this contract with BC Ferries. That's something that we have to all rectify, and we have to change that by buying Canadian. I agree with the member opposite. On this side of the House, we are bringing
They literally wait for people to say what you're doing is wrong, and then they change it.
Agencies and departments are focused on buying Canadian.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver Kingsway.
Mr. Speaker, unemployment has surged to its highest level in a decade. Young people are being hit the hardest. 1 in 6 can't find work. Our economy is facing a recession, and millions of Canadians are worried about their jobs. Yet, Liberals are planning to slash services people rely on and eliminate family-sustaining jobs through an austerity budget this fall. Will this government reverse course and create much-needed jobs through bold initiatives like a youth climate corps, as New Democrats have proposed?
Are you insane?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Family.
Mr. Speaker, last week it was a very proud moment for me to stand with the Prime Minister and the Canadian building trades unions who are training young people all across this country for great-paying union jobs that are going to build the things that will make us the strongest economy in the G7. Mr. Speaker, this government has a fantastic plan for youth. We are investing in skills training. We are investing in the provinces and the territories so that they can do this work with us. We'll make sure no young person gets left behind.
That concludes this fall session's first question period.
To the presence in the gallery of the Honourable P.J. Akiagok, Premier of Nunavut. Draw the attention of members to the presence in the gallery of Ms. Winnie Byanyima, Executive Director of the Joint United Nations Program on HIV/AIDS and an Undersecretary General of the United Nations. Thank you. We'll go to daily routine of business.
Okay, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our first day back with question period. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I know there's lulls when the French happens, when the translation happens, where it just doesn't feel as motivational, inspirational, entertaining. It's called a lull for a reason, right? But that's why we have each other. That's why we have the comment section. That's why I add some commentary so we can try and get rid of those lulls, right? Minimize them to the best of our abilities. We're going to be back tomorrow, same time. So make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel because you're not going to want to miss tomorrow's debate. Again, let's put some W's down in the chat for the Conservatives that actually came out and said that they stand with Charlie Kirk. I would have liked to see Pierre maybe say it as well during the actual debate, but his MP said it right before the debate started, so that's good. Get some W's going down. I've seen lots of RIP Charlie. I've seen lots of we are Charlie, I am Charlie messages down in the comments. We are Charlie Kirk. We are Charlie Kirk. Man, you guys are, I'm just looking at the comments right now on my phone. You guys are incredible, man. So incredible. His legacy is going to just forever live on, and we're going to make sure that it does. So thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, folks. Enjoy the rest of your day. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, man. That meant a lot. It was awesome.